Las Vegas tourism is in a catastrophic freefall this summer, hemorrhaging billions of dollars. And some are sounding the alarm that this could be the canary in the coal mine for the entire US economy. We're witnessing staggering double-digit collapses in Vegas specifically, and mark my words, this is the terrifying blueprint for international tourism in 2025 and bleeding into 2026. Oh, Las Vegas might still put on a glittering facade, but for countless visitors, that sparkle is a mirage, hiding a crippling price tag. We're talking about astronomical hotel rates and the sheer audacity of $9 coffees. Inflation is savaging people's wallets, and now fewer and fewer tourists dare to venture to this once famous destination. Just imagine it. You touch down in Las Vegas, your head filled with dreams of glamour and glitz, that intoxicating energy. That electric pulse that only this city could once generate. You get to your hotel, and before your suitcase even hits the floor, the financial assault begins. A $60 penalty for arriving early, a $50 resort fee for nothing, $25 cocktails, and the sickening realization dawns on you. This isn't the Vegas you knew. As one Reddit user so chillingly put it, we simply can't afford Vegas anymore. It's gotten so bad we're forced to sleep in our car. The tourist numbers are in a nosedive. This June alone, Vegas witnessed a jaw-dropping 11.3% collapse in visitors. That's over 400,000 souls vanishing in a single month. So what's really going on here? The horrifying truth is that Las Vegas is being deliberately re-engineered to purge the middle class. And it all stems from one cold, calculated directive straight from the executive suites. Reason number one, the Great Middle Class Purge. The shocking truth was revealed in a single, unguarded sentence. During a 2023 investor call, the CEO of Caesars Entertainment, Tom Reg, let the mask slip, stating, "You're kicking out the lowest end. I see no reason that needs to stop or would stop." Let that sink in. That wasn't a slip of the tongue. That is the master plan. The Vegas executives have dropped the pretense. They don't want you, they want fewer but far, far richer tourists. They are systematically driving out the very middle-class visitors who once breathed life into the Strip, who packed the buffets, the shows, and the blackjack tables. Because when your only ambition is to court billionaires, the average person is nothing more than an inconvenience. Every single price gouge, every phantom fee, every shuttered attraction, none of it is an accident. It is all part of a cynical strategy. Make Vegas so obscenely expensive that only the financial whales can afford to swim in their waters. But here is their catastrophic miscalculation. When you banish the crowd, you murder the atmosphere. And without that electric buzz, even the billionaires will abandon the ghost town. Reason 2. The day Vegas sold its soul. There was a time, not so long ago, when this city felt like pure magic. You could wander the Strip and witness fire erupting from the Mirage volcano, pirates waging war at Treasure Island, or fountains waltzing to Sinatra. And it cost you nothing. It was all for free. Families, newlyweds, broke college students, everyone was given a front row seat to the spectacle. That was the unspoken contract. Vegas put on a show for you, whether you gambled a dime or not. But that contract has been torn up and thrown away. In August of 2024, the Mirage volcano, a beloved Vegas icon since 1989, was brutally demolished, sacrificed to make way for Hard Rock's gaudy new guitar-shaped tower. Crowds gathered for a final, mournful eruption, their phones held high, a bittersweet nostalgia in their eyes, before a piece of history was erased forever. The same tragic fate befell Treasure Island's legendary pirate show, and even smaller attractions like the Avengers Station have been snuffed out. They have the nerve to call this progress, but let's call it what it is: a cold, corporate sterilization. Vegas once threw its arms open to everyone. Now it just sells you a velvet rope and a sneer of exclusivity. And with every so-called upgrade, it's gutting the very soul that made it legendary in the first place. That irreplaceable feeling that you too could belong here, if only for a single night. Reason 3, the obsessive worship of the high roller. So, who is this new Vegas for? It's certainly not for the hardworking tourists who scrimp and save all year for one weekend on the Strip. They have been financially exiled. Vegas now grovels at the feet of the whales, the ultra-wealthy gamblers who casually wager more in a single night than most people earn in an entire year. We're talking about people like James Packer, the Australian billionaire who treats the Bellagio like his personal piggy bank, or Floyd Mayweather, whose gambling binges have become the stuff of legend. For this elite club, Vegas doesn't just roll out the red carpet, it paves the streets in gold. Private jets, chauffeured Bentleys, and opulent suites so exclusive they're not even listed online. Meanwhile, the rest of us are being fleeced for $25 for a weak, watered-down cocktail and an insulting $55 resort fee. But here's the devastating irony. Those whales are not the lifeblood of Las Vegas. The true lifeblood has always been the crowd, the everyday middle-class gamblers who pack the casino floors, who buy the drinks, who create the cheers at the tables. They are the very heartbeat of this city. And right now, Vegas is performing open heart surgery on itself, all to impress a handful of detached millionaires. Reason 4, death by 1,000 hidden fees. Vegas was once the capital of the cheap thrill. You could get a feast at a buffet, a cold beer, and a wild story to tell, all for what felt like pocket change. Now, it's a slow, painful death by 1,000 paper cuts. MGM Resorts has had the audacity to hike its resort fees twice in 2024 alone. These fees now average an outrageous $40 to $55 per night, slapped right on top of already extortionate room rates. That $99 hotel deal you thought you snagged online, by the time you check out, it's ballooned to nearly $200. And that's before they have the audacity to charge you $25 for a cocktail, $30 for pancakes, and a staggering $35 for a burger. As one tourist bitterly remarked, they nickel and dime you. Except in this town, a nickel is apparently $25. But the deception runs deeper. Even the odds on the gaming floor have been silently rigged against you. The vast majority of blackjack tables now pay a pathetic 6 to 5 instead of the traditional 3 to 2, gutting your potential winnings by nearly half. This city was always designed to take your money, but it once had the decency to make you feel like royalty while doing it. Now it's just a soulless shakedown with a gift shop on the way out. 5. But these are not just statistics. These are real people. These are real, devastating losses. Behind every ghost town casino floor and every grotesquely inflated price tag, real human beings are suffering the consequences. A cocktail waitress at Caesars, speaking on condition of anonymity, confessed to me, "My tips have fallen off a cliff. I've never seen so few people actually gambling." Another server's voice cracked as she admitted her take-home pay has been slashed in half compared to just last summer. And on TikTok, the desperation is palpable. One strip worker cried out, "Last year I was making $300 to $500 a night. This week, I cleared $124. These are the very people who bleed to create the Vegas magic. They are the ones who put on a brave face through exhaustion and bad luck, all to make every visitor feel like a king. Now, they are forced to watch as the crowds vanish and their shifts are cut to the bone. And all the while, management pretends it's business as usual. But here's a grim warning. When you squeeze the customer until they're dust, the workers are the next to bleed out, and soon, there will be absolutely nothing left to take. 6. The numbers don't just talk, they scream the truth. For years, casino executives paraded record profits as proof of their genius strategy, but the real data paints a picture of catastrophic failure. Hotel occupancy on the Strip has plummeted to a dismal 78.9%, a drop of 2.1 points in a single year. The average daily room rates have been chipped away by $5. A 5% slide to a meager $185 a night. But here is the bombshell. Casino net income on the Strip collapsed by an unbelievable 40.4% in 2024, even as their total revenue climbed by over 6%. So, how in the world do you make more money but end up with less? You do it by bleeding your customers with such ferocity that they vow never to return. The cold hard math exposes the entire lie. Tourists are spending less time, spending less money, and leaving more disgusted than ever before. But instead of reversing course, Vegas executives doubled down on their disastrous greed. They call it premium repositioning, which is just a sickening corporate euphemism for charging you more for far, far less. They systematically tore out the city's soul, replacing it with a sterile corporate sheen, slashing staff, jacking up prices, and wringing every last cent out of the system until it broke. They are convinced that short-term profits on a spreadsheet are more valuable to shareholders than the long-term loyalty of their customers. But that hollow logic only works in a boardroom, because down on the casino floor, the chairs are cold and empty, and the dealers stare into the void. This is a city built to master the numbers game, and yet, against all odds, it is losing catastrophically. 7. And when Vegas heard, all of Nevada bleeds. When Vegas gets sick, the rest of the state is put on life support. This city isn't some desert playground. It is the thundering economic heart of an entire state. In 2024, the Tourism Authority boasted of collecting a record $382 million in room taxes, an 8% increase. Sounds impressive, doesn't it? But look beneath the surface. That surge was the last gasp of air before the ship went down. Officials are now bracing for a major slowdown in 2025, frantically cutting their budgets. That is the polite way of screaming that the party is definitively over. And here is why this should terrify everyone. Roughly 1/3 of all room tax revenue in Clark County doesn't fund the Strip's glitter. It's meant for public schools and transportation for the entire state of Nevada. So when the casino's profits evaporate and the hotels sit empty, it's not just about canceled vacations. It means classrooms without resources and schools falling into disrepair. It means canceled bus routes for people who have no other way to get to work and potholes that will never be fixed. The insatiable greed of Las Vegas is no longer just fleecing tourists. It is actively starving the very communities that allow the state to function. And it gets worse. The city is now staring down a $110 million budget deficit, a direct result of this corporate-driven collapse. Local leaders are now desperately trying to patch the gaping holes that the casino executives dug with their own greed. The irony is absolutely nauseating. The very corporations that built a glittering empire on the hopes and losses of others are now strangling the life out of the system that made them obscenely rich. Vegas once promised a golden age for all of Nevada. Now it threatens to be the anchor that sinks the entire state. 8. There is a Raiders analogy that exposes everything. Picture Allegiant Stadium on game day. The floodlights are blazing, the field is immaculate, and the luxury boxes are overflowing with corporate VIPs clinking champagne glasses. But below them, every single seat in the stadium is completely, eerily empty. Now ask yourself this. How long before those VIPs refuse to pay a fortune to sit alone in a silent, dead arena? That is the terrifying reality of Las Vegas right now. The casinos have gutted the soul of the city in their relentless pursuit of a few high rollers. They tragically forgot that it's the roar of the crowd that creates the electricity, the magic. Instead, they've built a hollow fortress of luxury boxes, exclusive lounges, and private gaming dens, barricaded behind gated entrances, while the public strip outside feels like a graveyard. And here is the damning proof. The local casinos, the ones that still remember and cater to the everyday person, are thriving, are soaring by as much as 50% in revenue, while the gargantuan strip properties are hemorrhaging money. The reason? It's because those local haunts still grasp the concepts of volume, energy, and human connection. They understand the chilling truth that a room packed with $50 players is infinitely more valuable than a desolate palace waiting for a phantom millionaire. One Redditor captured this tragic reality perfectly. They declared, "They broke the compact with the common man." The unwritten rule was you'd lose your money, but in return, you ate like a king, slept in a clean room, and had some genuine fun. That deal is dead and buried. While Vegas executives spin this disaster as premium repositioning, the grim reality is they're playing to an empty stadium and pretending it's a sellout crowd. 9. The vultures are circling. As Vegas desperately hikes its prices to chase billionaires, its competitors are systematically and quietly stealing its very soul, its audience. The budget-minded tourists haven't vanished into thin air. They've just been driven elsewhere. Small desert towns across Nevada are now resurrecting old resorts and, shockingly, offering real value again. We're talking $99 rooms, free breakfasts, and an end to the insulting resort fee nonsense. They're literally embracing the customers Vegas spat out. Atlantic City is now positioning itself as the affordable Vegas, complete with free entertainment on the boardwalk and tables that won't bleed you dry. Even places like Napa Valley and Cabo San Lucas are moving in for the kill, pitching all-inclusive luxury for less than a single hollow weekend on the Strip. A travel agent stated the brutal truth bluntly: when you can go to Mexico for cheaper than Las Vegas, you go to Mexico. That is the kind of statement that should send a shockwave of terror through every casino CEO, because Vegas was once the ultimate dream, the one place to truly celebrate, to feel intensely alive, to taste a bit of glorious danger. Now, it finds itself in a pathetic street fight with everyone, from beach resorts to cruise ships to online casinos, and it is losing. Travel influencers are actively avoiding it. Younger travelers dismiss it as an overpriced corporate wasteland. And the more Vegas desperately tries to appear elite, the less unique it tragically becomes. For decades, this city owned the very concept of affordable excess. It was the one sanctuary where anyone could live like a high roller for a night. Now, it has been reduced to a generic premium brand in a world overflowing with cheaper, more authentic knockoffs. 10. The dark truth behind it all. At first glance, it's easy to scream greed. And yes, greed is a malignant part of this cancer. But underneath, something far more sinister is driving Vegas's self-destruction. Utter desperation. The casino giants aren't raising prices from a position of strength. They're doing it because they are slowly, quietly losing a war against the generation that no longer needs them. The youth of today don't dream of Vegas the way their parents did. They can gamble right from their phones. They can have drinks delivered to their doorstep. They can chase dopamine hits through 1,000 different apps, not antiquated slot machines. The US online gambling market swelled to $122.6 billion in 2024, directly devouring Vegas's customer base. And instead of evolving, of forging new reasons to visit, of creating new thrilling experiences, or God forbid affordable fun again, Vegas doubled down on its outdated playbook, squeezing every last drop of blood from whoever was left. That is the cold, calculated reason everything costs a fortune. That is why the legendary buffets are gone. That is why the Strip feels like a ghost town draped in designer fabric. And the consequences of this fatal error are everywhere. As of March 2025, only a pathetic 8 all-you-can-eat buffets remain on the Strip, down from dozens just a few short years ago. The Poker Palace, a family-owned North Las Vegas casino that first opened in 1974, is being forced to close its doors this year, casting out over 120 employees. Places like that don't just vanish from bad luck. They are extinguished because the new predatory system has no more room for them. Vegas used to be a glorious symbol of escape, a place where a construction worker from Ohio could sit next to a millionaire from Manhattan and both could feel like kings. Now, it's a textbook case study of what happens when a city forgets who it was built for, because Vegas doesn't truly run on money. It runs on energy, on noise, on the pulse of people, and when you replace that vibrant crowd with an unnerving silence, no jackpot in the world can save you. So here's the truth the casinos are desperate to hide. They didn't kill Vegas by being greedy, they killed it by being cowardly. Vegas used to make you a promise. You'd lose your money, absolutely. But in return, you were given the experience of a lifetime. A cheap buffet, a comped drink, a story you would tell for the rest of your life. That was the sacred deal. And now, that deal is gone. The city built on taking chances stopped taking any chances at all. It forgot that magic isn't a commodity you can sell at a premium price. It's something you must create. And without it, all the neon in the world can't hide the vast, soul-crushing emptiness underneath. So perhaps the question isn't what happened to Vegas. Perhaps it's what happens when every place like it starts chasing only the super rich. Because Vegas isn't the first city to auction off its soul for profit. It's just the loudest, most spectacular example of what happens when corporate greed gets confused with progress. Have you been betrayed by this new reality? Did your last trip leave you feeling cheated, empty? Your voice needs to be heard. Unleash your story in the comments. I demand to hear what they've done to your Vegas, because the brutal reality is this: a city without stories is just a corpse, and right now we are watching its lifeblood drain away into the desert.